So, okay, any questions?
No, sir.
I'm baffling everybody. Okay, what's next? Where are we? So, penalties. So we have some works here with some penalties involved, and they're interesting, and each one of them presents a little bit different. We'll stop, we'll go over why there was a penalty, why there isn't, you know, things like that. But these are things that happened, and to me they're interesting. They're all a little different, and it's something you might see out there in the field on any horse show that you judge, and you'll think, you know, my goal is to make you better, so when you judge, you can do a better job. You know how to, even though you're not an expert cow horse person, you can get them in the right place. You know, a lot of times I get calls after the Sun Circuit. I've had this happen where they go, you know, this guy's a halter judge, but he really did a good job with the cow horse. He really did. You ought to try him. I've had that happen, and that's what I want for everybody. They really did a good job. And I go, they did? You know, I had one of the cow horse guys, I had him judge last year at one of our major events, and he was pretty good. He's a pretty good little trainer. He's a pretty good little, I mean, I would say pretty good. So he come and judged, and he was a little hard-headed, and he challenged me, and it was good. And I thought, and my goal is always, when we leave, I want us to be better and see it clearer than when we showed up. So he comes and he doesn't say anything, and he does a pretty darn good job. I mean, he's the kind we're looking for. And I get up there this year to about where he lives, and they say, you know, and I won't tell you the guy's name, but they said, you know, since he judged, he's almost unbeatable up here. And I said, what? And they said, he's so much better, and he goes more to the right places and finishes his runs better. And I thought, I mean, that made me feel so good, because that's like these. That's what these are for. I want you all to do better, and I want you to see it clearer. And if you do, that's my goal. So that's what we're after. So I've got all these different kind of stuff, you know, and when you see it, in my career, I've always done, what did they say about that? What do I do about this as far as reflecting the run content of this run? What did they say? I do that. And that's what I want you to do with this. The advantage of this webinar is you can go back during the year and say, what did he say about, oh, this happened? You know, it gets more personal and it gets more in depth when it actually happens, and you've got to figure out what to do. That's where the rule book, you know, like yesterday in the ranch riding, when you try and figure out how much credit or whatever, you go back to that rule book and you read it with renewed interest, and it sinks in. And that, until it happens to you, you know, and you're a real conscious judge, you'll go back and you'll say, what did he say? I'll look on my webinar, and you use that, because I'm giving you way more information than you can absorb in one setting. The truth, it's just a lot of information, but you can go back and get it too. So that's what we're here for. So let's run these. We'll stop them. We'll talk about them, and you can, and hopefully sometime you go, what did he say about that? You know, well, this is what I said. So the first horse, and these are all these are at cow horse events, and the question here is, does he get any boxing done, and does he deserve a new cow? So So that's an interesting, can we back that one up and we'll see it again. But so the question, question one is, does he deserve a new cow? The answer is, you have to do your part to deserve a new cow. When that cow came out and made a run at him, he kind of let up there and let him go through. So they decided, the judges, and I think rightfully so, he didn't try hard. If he'd have just stepped one more stride closer to that cow and tried a little harder to stop him, bingo, no question, I'd have given him a new cow, because this cow's got a lot of juice. So the next question is, what do you do with the boxing? Because he didn't really get to box him. So that's where you go down. That's why we had our boxing discussion. I would minus the boxing, put a A on there. 68. Down, and that's when he starts down the fence. I'm sitting on a 68. I'm done with the boxing. He didn't get any boxing. 68. He doesn't deserve a new cow. So now what happens? Okay, run it. So he does the right thing. He takes the bait and he rolls. He doesn't get weak and try and drive him back up. And once you leave the end and you start going, if you drive him back up here and try and rebox him, all these penalties are in effect. In essence, you got to do what he does and just go ahead and do the fence work. So he goes down here and he has a good turn. Got a little gap mouth, check plus turn. Another check plus turn, it's going. He's okay. Now, the cow's got the advantage. He's circling the horse. He's out of position, a P, all day. So he turns now, the run's starting to fall apart, but he's got a P. So now he's going to start. Horse is flipping his head a little bit. I'm just doing this to see what we'd get out of this run. Circle's just a circle. He's up against the fences. He's not, and that one there's probably a check minus. So let's see what we'd come up with. You know, if you saw this and you didn't give him a new cow and just like there, and well, what's the score for that? All right. So our rating, you know, he rated good on the fence until the cow circled him. So I'm gonna just check that, but I'm gonna put a P over the when he was turning him. I'm gonna check plus the first turn. I'm just gonna check the others. Uses his mouth a little bit and bothers me a little bit as far as form and quality. So his circles, I think we can check minus the first one because of his head slinging kind of a deal. Check the second. Position and control, full minus. Full minus. He lost him on the end, you know. Cow circled him. It can be a full minus or a full two minuses. He was trying, didn't work. So with this said, it's hard to get. You say, well, he had a lot of degree of difficulty. Yeah, but he never did. He didn't get up where he was supposed. Actually, if he got up where he was supposed to, you might have thought about a new cow more than you did. But he was always just a little bit trailing him. Check that. I appeal. We've addressed it a couple times, but I'm going to address it again. I didn't like a lot of that, where he was and all that. So let's see. I don't mean to dig on him, but I wasn't too impressed, so to say the least. So I got 2 1-point penalties. The only thing what I was impressed on is when he took the bait and just went ahead and tried and work him. It could have worked out because it started pretty good, you know. So I got 2 1-point penalties. I'm going to average my turns. I'm going to give him a check plus my average. So I got 70.5. Check minus the first one. I'm 70. 69, 68.5, 67.5, 66.5, something like that. 66.5. He's down in the pour, at the bottom of the pour. 66.5. You're down there. I'm going to be truthful with you. I don't worry as much about a low-end work like that as I do a high-end, which one's first. But I still want to get him where he should be, which is down. You know, you're close to being in the really poor, but you're down at the bottom there. You're not going to win much. You know, he doesn't expect to win. Don't try and justify it because he made a couple of turns. Get him out of there. So he's out. Did I do that right? I didn't do that right because I had this. I'm going to recalculate it. 69, I missed that, see? 69, 68, 67 and a half. It's a 65 and a half. That's, see, if you had a good scribe, they wouldn't have let me do that. 65 and a half, I like that better because that's what it was the other day when I did it, 65 and a half. So I knew I was missing something, but I missed that. So you got to be careful when you do it. That's why I'm real generic. I just missed that one. I did. You know, nobody's perfect. You try and be, but you're not. So, okay, the next one, that took a lot of time, but we got a lot of time. So what? So we got this next one. How many A's is this? A question on this. Does he have any A's? Does he have any loss of working advantage? Or what? That's what I want to know. So, same kind of a deal on the boxing here. These, can we see that one again? These runs, the reason they're on there is you'll see stuff like this. And these runs are really hard to evaluate. And our score sheet helps us on this. So these are fast and furious. These are high dollar. You probably won't see this in an amateur class, but these are riders that are in hot pursuit that don't let up. And so you want to be careful you don't get too high on them or too low or overlook something that happened. And you know, this is a really interesting run. And so let's run it again and see what we come up with. But the first thing is, what do we do with the boxing? You know, he did box him, the other guy didn't. But did he have a miss? You know, the cattle, it's hard to watch the horse and the cow at the same time most of the time. And this one here, he's doing his stuff. Okay, stop it right there. So you don't know if the cow pulled maybe a head fake and got out of there, but I know one thing. He was over here and the cow's heading out this way. So something happened and something has to reflect it. And I don't know, to me, I would probably rather have a loss of working advantage, which tells him that I thought he lost it off the end, and a check in the boxing, because I'm not sure that cow didn't pull a quickie, but I know there was a loss of working advantage whether he did or didn't. So I'm going to give him the advantage. I'm not going to take him both. I'm not going to double dip him. No, I'm not going to take both. Like, it wasn't near as bad as that last one that we just took the minus and the A. So I'm just going to put an A to tell him I saw that he lost working advantage, but I'm going to leave him alone on the quality of the boxing. So then, now, we're heading out, and he gathers him back up, and he's in a pretty good position, but that cow's off the fence. This is difficult stuff, so let's run it. So he's up, makes what we call open field turn. Now stop it right there. So he makes this difficult open field turn, and the start to that turn was real good, but the finish wasn't very good. So it's still a hard turn. It's a quality. I want to give him some credit for what he tried. I'm going to check plus that turn instead of a full plus. I like the start, and I like the hawk, you know, the 2/3 of it I liked, and he was a little late getting out of there. Now, the question is he late enough for an A? Did he lose working advantage? I thought he did. So I'm gonna go over here. Now I'm on his side. I'm not like I was on that roan horse. I'm on this horse's side because there's a lot of hard stuff going on here. So I'm gonna I'm going to be as good to him as I can, but I want to reflect what actually happens too. And I've got 2 A's on him, okay? And he's still trying to work this cow, and he's still on the offense, and this cow has got a lot of degree of difficulty. So let's see what happens now. So see there, he just lost a little ground. I'm an A there, I'm okay with that. So he comes, you have to take my word for it. I saw it. He made a beautiful turn there. It was a plus turn, so you just have to take my word for it. Now he's getting back up. They're still going 9-0. He's up in my thinking as a plus, and he stumbles. Pretty good. So did it affect the maneuver? You know, did it affect the circle maneuver? He stumbles a little bit again. To me, I could have been on the plus, full plus on the first circle. He stumbled, but he switched sides, so I'm still going to stay. I'm going to give him a plus on that second turn that you didn't see, but you have to take my word for it. And the first one, I'm going to check plus that instead of full plus. And the second one, I'm going to check plus him too. Because he got up there, he stumbled a little bit, but it didn't really mean much. Just like the first one was a pretty good stumble, but he'd already been up there. I'm thinking full plus. He stumbled, lost a little ground, but nothing terrible. No A's, none of that. I'll come off a half and I'm good with it. It's a run content issue with me. Okay, we'll go over to position and control. Too much stuff going on, but there, you know, that's a balancing act. He did some hard stuff. He had a couple of A's. I'm going to be as fair. I think the fair deal is a check. I'm a check. Degree of difficulty, I'm going to give him a full plus because he didn't weaken. And at least he got it done, and it didn't take all day. And the I appeal, I'm just going to check it. And there's my score. No, we got to go to rate. I'm going to give him a little credit on the rate, check plus. So there are some real good things happen here, but they have a couple of A's to go with it. So I'm going to, a check plus and a plus, you know, the open field turn, I'm going to stay with a check plus. You got a choice, check plus or plus. The first one, he was a little late and got an A. Maybe I was a little good to him with a check plus. Plus on the second one, I'm going to stay with a check. I think that's a better feel for the balance of the 2 turns. For me, it is. So let's go through here and see what we have. And I'm trying not to miss on like I did the last one. I got 71, 72, 73. Take 2 away, 71 in that area. You know, there was a lot of hard stuff. I gave him all the credit I could. You know, if you stayed with the 71, 71 and a half in that area, he's right on the borderline between the top of the average and the low of the good, and that's because of the degree of difficulty and how he pursued it. I'm okay with that, 71. Okay, that's an interesting run. You know, you don't want to take him out, you don't want to give him too much. That's a hard one. Without the sheet, I don't know what I'd have marked him. You either get too excited because it was difficult, or you get to picking on him because of the penalties. You got your choice. This way here, I think I gave him everything I could.
Did you get the question, Melinda? Yeah. Okay.
What's the question?
Would you be wrong for a penalty after the first turn?
That's what I did. I got a penalty.
Okay. Is that his question? Like,
Huh?
Yeah.
I got an A. This is after the first turn. I took a loss of working advantage. This is off the boxing on the end. I had 2 A's on him. Yeah, but this one here, I sure enough had a. The turn was okay. You just got to jump on. You know, that's fair. That's all fair. Okay, what else? Let's see. Our next one. These are pretty good. Okay. These are things that have happened, like I say, I explain them, and what do you do with them? There's things that are still credit, a lot of credit. you can, yeah, we'll talk about the E. Okay. The question was, am I on? Okay. The question was there an E on the previous work? E, switching sides. You know, I ran out of numbers that made sense, so I got down to the E. So the answer to your question is it's not an E. What happened there is a bigger loop. So he comes down. I'll explain. That's why I do this now, so you can, when you see something, we can talk about the penalty and it relates instead of just doing penalties, you know? So anyway, so what he does is he comes down here and he turns them, and the question is, did he switch sides? And the answer is, it was just a big loop like this. Okay? So that's not a switching sides. Now, when is it a switching side? You know, okay, you get across the arena, if this cow turns up this way, and you're on this side of him there, now you can hook him on that side. You switch sides. You should stay there. If you get in this shape, because we're not going to be forgiving, because if you end up playing dumb and coming around like this, guess what? You get a 2-point penalty to go with the switch sides. Then you switch sides again, because I got you hooked over here, because you're all set up to be there. So don't do that. So if you go over here and you're on this side like he was, and that's just a loop, it's not great. It's not a great thing to do that, but it was forced on him. This cow's going, beats him over there. He got an A, you know, but he doesn't get an E till he does this, you know. Now, if you turn this way and you set up to stay on that side to where you're all set up, I can hook you to that fence, because you're on the side that should hold him there. Now I'm going to E you. You should stay there and finish. You know, you can accept an A and an E if this really works to your advantage and you finish that run real concisely and accurately, you'll probably mark higher staying to that fence if they got, you know, instead of letting the judge decide if you got an E or not. Does that make sense? See, a lot of times now, they'll make a turn here and the cattle will go like this. This happened at the Snaffle Bit. Just the way the arena is, it would, after the turn, it would kick them out this way. And it's a very difficult thing. You gotta make a decision as a rider. You either come out and you do a big loop like this and put him back here. That's probably the least shot of credit, but it's probably the safest. Does that make sense? It's safe because you can get him back over there, and you can it's easier to do that. But there's less chance of credit, and if you take too much heat off, you'll probably get an A with it. So we don't promote that, but sometimes it's the safest and it's the right thing to do. We've always thought that it's harder to control and keep a cow on the fence. So you should get credit if you do that. So as our competition gets higher, even like at the Sun Circuit and all, where they have lots of numbers and good horses, there's no telling. They'll all be there. So they'll take a chance for the credit versus taking the easy way home, which is a loop. So what the hard way is to get out here like this and try and drive him back to the same fence and then do this. If you can do that, it takes a lot of rate and it takes a lot of control to do that. If they're successful, they deserve credit, because it's very, very hard. There's a degree of difficulty. There's a control in the cow. There's a lot of things that go into that. And if you can do that, you should be rewarded. You shouldn't say, hey, he's out there, what's he doing, and all that kind of. You should know enough to reward him. And the other thing is to try and get out and do a successful open field turn. And you got to be careful with that. We'll get to that on circling turns. You have to know what you're doing. So anyway, that's a good question on the E. Don't, just because they get the fence doesn't necessarily, they got to get set up to stay on that fence. Then you hook them over there, then you got to stay. So other than that, it's a position and control and stuff like that. So this horse that we just saw, I put this on there because I admired what she did, because I don't know of many horses that would have stayed there when that cow tried to jump in the saddle with the gal. Most of them would have left the scene. So that's credit. That's a credit earning deal. But, so you're on your side, I mean, the whole crowd that was there, they almost stood up, started clapping. But then she almost falls down, and guess what? You got to have a loss of working advantage. You can't overlook that just because you're excited because the horse stood its ground, you know? So let's see it again. It's still a credit, this run, besides the loss of work. And you know, the ground gave out, who knows what happened, but it's credit earning. I mean, like, it ended up, I think, marking up there in a 217.5 or something, even with a 1-point penalty. So it doesn't take you out of it, because that one was such a big deal to stay there. See, you're on this kind of boxing, this is a high-headed, she's taken the ground. I'm just going to take a check on the boxing and let's see if we can stay with him. See that, and this is a tough cow. Does that? I mean, that's credit. I'd probably double plus that turn. I really would have. She got control of him there, stayed back. She's having a good credit earning one. Then it just lost. There's too much distance here. You got to take an A on it, and when you take an A on it, your position and control is going to drop a little bit too, because there was too much separation. She didn't have him, for whatever reason, you're going to come off that a little bit, but you're going to give it back. I mean, I'd have probably double plus that first turn. I mean, most horses couldn't do that. It was, you know. So you say, well, what about a double plus? What? I never heard that. You haven't talked about that. What are you talking about? Isn't that right? So here's the deal on the double plus. Say you had a double plus turn. I can double, it's rare that you double plus them, but you're going to give them more credit, because when they make you stand up, because it's so spectacularly good, I double plus it. So, but you rarely see very many in the same work. But that's as high as I go. I never triple plus one. Double plus, say the next turn is a check. This is why people don't understand averaging, you know. You say, well, what do I do now, you know? Well, this is a 0, and okay, and that's 2. That's what that amounts to. So where's the average? It's a 1. So that box, you know, my quality of turn box is a plus for that box. That's how it is. That's worth 2 points, and that's worth 0. What's the middle of that? 1. It's just simple, huh? You guys with me? So anyway, but that's pretty simple, huh? One's average turn, the other one's really, really good. What's the answer? It's a plus. So that worked out pretty good. Okay, so this run's still credit earning. Don't take them out of it, because she has one little fault. Stayed in there, had a little fault. What's the answer? It's in the middle here somewhere. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's in here. That's the answer to good judging. It had taken me 50 years is to figure out the balance, where you go, nope, that turn, 75. Really? What about the miss? What miss? I didn't think that was a miss. The ground gave out. Don't try and justify that. You saw it, you put an A down there, you mark it all you can, and the answer's in here. And people, trust me, will stay with you. They'll know that you know something. They will. They'll stay with you. So, okay. Nobody's going to pat you on the back and tell you how great you are unless they won first and you let them win first when they shouldn't, probably, you know. That's the only time they're going to tell you how smart you are. Huh? Okay, what's next? Okay, let's skip this next one. Can we go by it? And this next one is a good one here. This is, did he turn him? Did the cow turn? Did the rider turn? What caused this, see? Let's see if it's the right one. I know old Tanner, he's on it. Yes, okay. Let's see it first. You get a lot of boxing like this. They're pretty good. Is it a check? Are we moot? Or are we okay? We're good. So, starts down the fence. Question is this. So apparently they didn't give it a new cow because here it is. And if I had the whistle, I'd think I made the right move because when she got around behind it and drove it like she was supposed to, it went. That gives you the thing that you did the right thing. Maybe she was up there where she shouldn't have been, and that's why it turned. So in this way, when she gets around behind him and it goes, that gives you the satisfaction you made the right call. So the question on these, and this is a tough one too, is when they get done boxing, here's your deal, and you turn to go down the fence and your cow's ahead of you. Now, if he goes one stride, we have what we call, we want to give them the opportunity to get lined out before we start doing the turning, the 1-point T turn before the middle marker and stuff like that. So being lined out means they go 2 or 3 strides, probably more like 3, and you're all on go, okay? So you want to give them that shot. 3 strides. If he turns back before you get the 3 strides, I'm going to give you automatic new cow. Unless you're way up there and turned him, you know. So she's borderline. She's real high on him. A lot of times you go someplace and the cattle really run and they want to get an advantage, so they get too high on them. And then the cow sees them and turns back, you know. So they'll do that if you see them, you know, they'll turn back on you. So did you cause it or didn't you? Was he just a bad cow? So once you get lined out, now you go 2 or 3 strides. Like I say, it depends. You get set up, you start going, you give them, everybody's lined up the way they should be. Now, you go down past there. So if he turns back before that, your chances are pretty good you're going to give a new cow. So now you get going, and the cow starts to make the move, and the horse moves with him and gets a little higher on him like this horse did, and now the cow turns back. The question is, did the rider cause it? Now he's got to stay on it, or was he just a bad cow? And that's a hard, because you got to watch them both basically. And that's always when they're moving, and this one isn't moving as fast, and then they do that, and it's your call. Either a new cow or he stays. And you get a T. Now, if you let him stay like she did, and like they did with her, and it comes like this, these corner markers are in force. So if he turns and you think this one caused it and comes around the corner, you get a 2.8 to go with your T. So you got to be careful if you're showing them that you don't overrun them. So now if the cow you decided the cow was just bad and you gave them a new cow, all things are moot. You know, they start from scratch and you don't get this T. The other way, you get a T and a 2.8. Now, on this one that just went, what justifies it is when she got around where she's supposed to, it ran. So she probably caused it. Huh? Pretty good chance. Those are hard. About the time you think you're real smart and you just ate lunch and you get up there and you got the whistle and they do that and you think, I'm not near as smart as I don't know if he did it or not. Huh? Well, you've got to be fair and you got to be focused. So, okay, next one. Do we want to see that one again? We're okay. Let's see it one more time because I want to see if he actually got too far up on him or not, you know? Goes where he's supposed to. Not a lot of degree of difficulty, but I like the start. I don't think it's, I'm not a check plus or anything, but now, is he up too high? Probably so. So now, see, he's around the corner. You get a 2 along with your T. He was way up on him. And that cow, you know, the more you, some cattle won't turn, they'll just keep going, but when she gets around behind him, he goes. So, and then it all works out pretty good, but she fudged a little bit, you know. One time, a good story is about my friend, and he's not with us anymore, is Benny Gatrone. And Benny, I loved Benny, so he was an interesting guy. So anyway, and this happens, and you know, you always learn something, and I'm not saying it bad. I'm just telling you the story. So he's at the World Show, and the cattle are running, and you know how if you get past a point here in Oklahoma City, and you don't make your move to turn them, they'll get around the corner on you because of the configuration of the arena brings them back into you. And if you don't get up and stop them, you're in a foot race and they'll beat you. So Benny decides that he's gonna fix them. And so he's gonna cut this corner like this. So the cow's around like this. So he's gonna cut him and meet him down here and hammer him right there, but he's got the advantage and he doesn't have to foot race him quite so much. Well, anyway, he gets about here and this cow sees him and just turns back right there. So Benny comes around here like this, and around the corner he goes, and they leave him on him. They leave him on him. And he gets a T and a 2.A, and Benny is just upset. Now I know this because after the fact, and his two buddies, they go, and he's just telling everybody how stupid the judges are and how they messed him up, and then he can't believe it. So anyway, they go look. His two buddies go look at the video, and they said, "Well, he definitely turned him back, you know." So they go to Benny and they go, "Benny, you could come and look at the video with us and you'll see," you know, and he goes, "I don't need to look at the video, 'cause I know what happened." And I thought, you know, he's smart. If he went and looked at it, he couldn't bitch anymore about the judge, and this way he can. So he never did. And that's a true story. But if you don't go look at it, you can't see me. So anyway, I learned something from Benny right there. You know, he never looked at, no, So anyway, that's how that worked. But he turned him back. I was there, so.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
How would you mark the turns on that last run?
On this run, this girl?
Mm-hmm. Did you?
Well, I wasn't even focused on the turns. We'd have to look at it again.
Well, we had the request to replay the video again as well.
Okay.
So if we
Let's
could-
replay it and we'll figure out how the turns are.
Okay.
Is this from somebody in Canada?
Probably.
I was up in Canada and they said, "How come you got so many Canadians on there?" And I said, "Well, do they always make those kind of mistakes?" So Yeah, just speed it up a little bit to the fence work if we can, Tanner. So we're okay on the end. I'm gonna check the boxing. So here we go. So you got a T. You know, I'm not gonna mark that turn because I want us to start from here on the turns, okay? So she's got a pretty good rate. Pretty good turn. Plus that turn. She finished well, used her hocks. Those are good turns. Those are both plus turns. Those are all good. Is that what their question was? Yeah, those are plus turns for me. She finished them well. Circle was just a check. This circle's a little, takes the one hand. Got kind of out in no-no land. Check the second one. Check or check plus on that one. That horse kind of hunting him a little bit. It was okay. You know, probably check plus on that because it was in and out. But those turns, what's our other question? Those are plus turns.
Just how are the turns marked?
Yeah, I would plus those turns. There's three reasons. The horse entered the turn a little bit on his own, so his entry was good. He had good form on him as far as using his hocks, and his exit were real good in a controlling position. So I'm plus on those turns. My turn box would say plus. But the problem with the run, she had nothing to lose because she already had 3 penalty points on her. She had to go. And I like the horse. It's good. Any other questions?
Just a comment from a Canadian.
You know, hey, all 4 people were watching. Okay, let's see, where are we at? Okay, let's run the next one. This one, the question is, and this is a friend of mine, and I ran this at a seminar, and his wife said, I thought you were friends of Dave. I said, well, I am. She said, well, why you put that on there? It makes you look like an idiot. I said, no, it's just an educational thing. It wasn't my fault he went by and got 2 L's and an A and 2 or 3 times. So question is on this run, how many L's and how many A's? That's the question. And you'll see it's a pretty good question because you can L them, you can A them, there's differences here.
You got the Canadians stirred up.
Are they stirred up? What'd they want?
They said they won't take the mockery, Canadian mockery. I told them they were in good company. Well, this is so good.
So here we go. Is it on or off? Are we mute? Off? Okay, so you see how we better turn it on. You're on. I'm on. So the kicker here is the rate is what's causing the problems. So he started out a little bit late, and when he got there and the horse is trying to do something, his momentum carries him by. So we'll rerun this again and see if we can't get a hold of but it was all caused, when I'm judging, I always, when they leave the end, I always say to myself, is he in a good controlling working position? If he's back here, I go, no. Then things change. So can we see that one again? So I think with this one, he started out, your horses, even, I don't care how fast they are, you can't give them an advantage by having a disadvantage by having that much distance in there. Even if they're a slow cow, you should be up here where you do this with them, and then you can step by, not this. So, and that's where I think this happened, is he got to go, and then the cow runs a little faster and did that, and the time he catches up, it just drives him because they physically the horse can't regain. These are good videos, huh? They're clear too. So here, is he getting up? Is he up there? You know, he's close, but now the cow runs, and now his horse. Now this one isn't so bad. So does he start to turn? I'm just going to take an A on that. He initiated, but now I'm not. I'm 2 L's and an A. 2 L's and an A, but now, and it doesn't get, there he started to turn, I'm just going to A that. So he's trying to get back up, but he keeps losing working advantage. You know, he never does really get what they call get a hold and get control of that cow, including even on the circles there. I mean, what's the best you can do? He got up there on the end. I mean, it just kind of went downhill. The cow runs out. He never got really up there where he was supposed to, and that's what caused all the L's and the A's. And in person, when you see that much void, your initial reaction is 2 L's and an A, or 3 L's and an A, because there's so much. But that cow, he was gone. Did he start? You know, I try and, like I said, try and not double dip them if I can, but they still have to do what they're supposed to do, and that's read the cow, rate with the cow, and control the cow. You know, not this. He never got control of him. It was always just a foot race, you know. So we got another Canadian. Hey, I got nothing to get. Well, I was just up there twice this year. They're good. You know, they're good up there too. But I don't know how I got so many Canadians on here. I didn't mean to. It's nothing personal. Okay, let's see it. I think this is him. No, this isn't. Let's see. Yeah, 7. Actually, I think this is a Canadian, and I don't. It is. So, this work, he's getting him work, but his finish isn't so good on the circles. And so a lot of times the P, working out of position, I use it in circles. So sometimes they can't get there. You got a minus circle going on, and then you get a big separation where the cow turns and maybe you wade way out and you're out of position. You put a P and a minus on there. And the P comes in, it tells the story on the circles. You could put an A, loss of working advantage, it would count the same, but a P describes it a little bit more, I think. So he's getting along, he finishes the turn okay. Those aren't great turns, but they're controlling. That isn't a bad turn. He needs to get over on this side. He got late leaving that turn, and this cow got the jump on him. So he says, now I'm going to circle him. But guess what? This is some real run-killing stuff going on here. He beats him to the fence. He can't get him off the fence. You know, those circles, I'd take a couple off those circles. You know, a minus a circle and a P, or minus a circle and an A. He's up again. He beats him to the fence. You know, you're going to come off. Those circles probably cost him 3 points, 3 or 4 points. That finish was really poor. So anyway, he wasn't doing too bad. And when he got laid out of that turn and didn't get over here to get him out in the open part of the arena, and that cow got mothered up on the end, it just destroyed the quality of the run. So, okay, next. Okay, this one is an interesting run because, you know, there's a sequence of a cow work: boxing, fence turns, and circles. And you have to stay in that sequence. You can't do the boxing, turn him a time or two on the fence, do a circle, go back to the fence, and do another turn or two. You got to keep him in that sequence. And this horse gets out of sequence. So he's okay. He took him and away he went. Doesn't make a good turn. He's gonna loop him down and come back to the fence. The horse is basically running away with him. You go, what are you doing? Anytime you go, what are they doing out there? That's a P every time, just like that. What was she doing out there? Now, a lot of things happen here. So she got two left turns. She slipped a circle in there. Now she got a left and a right, so she's okay. There's a lot of bad stuff goes on in this run right here. But basically this horse ran away with her and took her. She's trying to turn him. Let's see it again. So before we do, let's talk about the open field. Let's talk about the open field 2-point B penalty. And if anybody ever reads the Stock Horse magazine, I write in there, and I wrote about the 2-point B this month. Nobody reads it, but I wrote about it. So anyway, this horse, I think, gets a 2-point B. That's why I want to bring it up. So a 2-point B is an open field 2-point corner penalty. So there's two, and I don't know as you'd call it a corner penalty, but it's an open field 2-point penalty. So the 2-point A is around the corner. So this is your open field, and it's 20 feet from the fences. That's what's described as, this is the open field area. So if you run down, your cow runs down and goes around the corner like this, and here's your 2-point marker and your 1 point. Here's your 2-point and your 1 point. If he goes within the 20 feet and goes around there, it's a 2-point A, okay, around the corner. If he goes down and turns into the open field before he goes around, it's not a 2-point corner. You have to be up in here. It's not a 2-point A. But this isn't good. I don't know what he's doing there, but you didn't have control of him and things like that. You know, you don't always necessarily need a penalty, you know, a 2-point penalty that you can't find there, because you did that to get him down where you need him, because he has a loss of working advantage. You probably have an A and you got a minus in control. So you got 2 points that way. But anyway, when you go, say you go down here and you turn, okay, and you get out into the open field. Now, the only time this applies is when you're going from one end of the arena to the other end of the arena. So you get out in here and you're in a foot race, and the cow beats you in between your 2-point penalty markers. Before he turns one way or the other, he gets within 3 foot of that end fence before he turns. That's an open field 2-point B penalty. He beats you there. So you get up here and you turn him before that, it's not a 2-point B. They got to get, it's like a back fence. You got to get within 3 foot. What you're doing out there, maybe it's just hard, who knows what, but if you get him turned before the 3 foot, you're okay. And you're in trouble, really, because you're out in no-no land and it's very hard, but you're not going to get the 2-point B. So say you turn him here and he turns and he doesn't get the 2-point B, but he gets within 3 foot on his return between the 1 and the 2, it's a reverse 1-point C. You can't get within 3 foot of this whole end fence and get away clean. So if he turns, and a lot of them will turn and then they'll drift up here, and it's a reverse 1-point C. You record it as a 1-point C, but that's what I call it, is a reverse. So, but the kicker is, the only time these are in effect, either one of them, is when you're going from one end to the other end of the arena. So what this eliminates is if you make a turn here, say you're going this way, and now you loop and you get like this, those aren't in effect then because you're not going from one end to the other. You're just making a loop. You have to go from here to here, and a lot of times you'll go, God, you'll look up and you'll see them in here, and you go, is that a 2-point? You know, that's miscalled all the time. Until you figure out, you got to go from one end to the other. So that's how that all comes. So on this horse, I think she might have a 2-point B. So let's see it. Let's see this again, see what's going on, and we'll kind of get an idea what the score should be. So I'm glad we got that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I want. So here we go. I always say, is she up? Yeah, she's okay, you know. The horse didn't really make a very good turn, just a turn. So she's going to loop. It looks like to me she's going to loop. And then this horse just goes where he wants, right? Because she can't get him. What? You know, I mean, that's a 2-point thing for me. It's loss of work advantage, blah, blah, blah. So now she's going from that end to this end. If she get within 3 foot, that's a 2-point B right there. Because she turned over here, circles for what reason, I don't know, but then got down there. So that's clearly a 2-point B for me. So now she mixed a circle in, so now she has to go back on the fence, and her whole work has gotten what I guess discombobulated with me. After he ran off, and you go, well, how do we record that? You know, well, position and control, double minus it. And get him down there, you know, really, when they run off, it's close to a 60, or it should be. You know, anytime she can't even hardly get him pulled off there. So, I'm not saying it bad, but if they run off, they run off. Sometimes, you know, when a horse that's in a hackamore, I personally appreciate one. It's like those good runs, and that first horse was really in a hackamore. And I think I recognize that. A lot of them show with a hackamore on them and get away with it, but they're really not. It's like a good bridle horse that really is in the bridle, and you appreciate it. You'll get on that. You might eye appeal plus, you know, for things like that. So, okay. That's about the end. Okay. Next is, okay, these are good. These are, is it a hang up or isn't it? You know, the hang up, their shoulders, it's like a freeze up in the spins or whatever. Their shoulders have to temporarily stop their lateral motion. So a hang up, you either put them in a position where they can't turn because they're too close to the fence, and they almost have to back to get turned to get the space, or they pull and the horse says no. That's your two hang-ups. If anything is moving, even if their head's like this and their shoulders are still, it isn't a hang-up. It's not a great maneuver, a turn maneuver, but it's not a hang-up. So these are really close. There's two of them. So let's roll them and see what we come up with. It's not good when you have to make a decision on is it a hang-up. It can't be real high quality most of the time. We've made big calls on it, but they have to stop their shoulders. People say, what about their feet are moving? I say, what that got to do with the shoulder? The shoulder, yeah, but I guess it's all counts, but I'm looking at the shoulders. That's a hard move right there. Not a great turn, but you know, that was hard to keep that cow getting back over to the fence. So there, is that a hang or isn't it? You know, and the cow's still in there. So I'm going to give him a little bit. So I say no. We reviewed it. Everyone said no. If the cow is still in, and he's waiting, and even if he's pulling a little bit, and when he leaves, then he's got to come. But if he's still in there, he doesn't have. He thought it was good. You know, I don't know about that, but so we can just go keep them rolling. They might even rerun it. Well, I don't know. So he set up, yep, okay, he's all right. Something's always moving there for me. You know, there's a little bit of a late exit to the turn and stuff, but it's not a hang-up. We reviewed those, you know, and went over them, and you want to be fair with it. To be truthful with you, if you have the video, it's such an advantage. You get out there on your own and no video, you got to call what you see. You got to be real careful. You got to make sure you're fair with the exhibitors. But if it's there, you take it. But without the video, you know, it's almost where you rely on it just for the answers so much. So, but it's such an advantage, and it's so much fairer. So, okay, those are okay. This is a good, this last one on these. These are all things that have happened and how to address them and what we saw. And this horse, it's pretty interesting. You'll see. He just keeps, it's like a little bit, I'm not crazy about this horse. He fulfills the deal, but it's like a wrestling match a little bit. I'd rather see him cow a little more on their own, but that's just me. So here's why this is on there. He's getting around him pretty good, and he goes to switch sides on that right there, and it doesn't take. And then he finally gets him muscled around there. Now it's not the circle. It's in between the two circles. And he almost refused to switch sides. So where do you do with that? You know, and I think in reality most of them missed it, and because you don't see it very often. And a lot of times when you're going fast, like see all these people here are clapping, you know. And so anyway, when you're going fast and those horses are running hard and you go to pick them, they're not immediately going to slip. It's not like you're going slow and you just pick them up and they immediately. But when you got a hold of him and he's almost saying no, and you're trying to get over here and it's no, and finally you get him muscled over there, that's a little meaningful to me. So where do you address it? It's not the circles. I'm going to put a P on there, 1 point P, and that'll take care of that. I'll probably put it over the circles, but it wasn't really in the circles, but maybe in position and control, put a P over that. So, but you're gonna tell them, you saw something there you didn't like, make sure they know it was in between the circles, but nothing, you know, it wasn't either circle, it was in between them. So you put a P there, and you take care of that, and then judge the run for what it was, and you got the answer. That's it. But there's something happened there. It wasn't like you can overlook it. So that was a real interesting one. Do we need to take a break? What time is it?
When's lunch here? Lunch will be here within 15 minutes.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, and then, well, can you, yeah.
Yeah,
and then we'll
okay.
break for lunch.
We'll keep going. Knockdowns, that's next. So knockdown, the thing, you know, some places, a lot of things, a lot of penalties of the same order happen at the same place for some reason. It's like hang-ups, and there'd be a lot of hang-ups, and then there isn't any. So knockdowns at this one time, there was a lot of knockdowns, and you go, wow, what's happening? Well, sometimes they're harder to call a knockdown than you think they are. You think, well, they fall down, they knock them down, it's 3-point. No, it's not the case. So if they're up there, and I call it in front of their shoulders, and they're trying to circle them, usually it comes in the circle, and they're up there where they're supposed to be, and the animal a lot of times will bump into the horse and knock himself down. That's not your fault. That's not you're back here like this, and they bump and knock them down. You're not in a working position. That's a knockdown. So, you know, there's different cases. If you turn on the fence like this, and you go forward, and that cow turns, and he's in close to the fence, and you mow him down, you've knocked him down. Okay? They say, well, what? You got to have space for your horse too. Hey, you see all these other horses? They pull up, get them out in front of them, and then go and turn them and stuff like that. You can't just turn and mow them down and think you didn't knock them down. They're behind them. A lot of times they bump them in the rear end. If you step on their hind feet and they fall down, it's a 3-point K. Okay? Simple. So get up where you're supposed to. Get control if you can. You're back here, you put yourself in jeopardy. There's one on here that keeps circling until it falls down. Well, we called it a knockdown. Let's see them. They're pretty interesting. They're not always easy to call. See there, I don't know if she stepped on him or what happened, but he fell down. So it replays automatically, see? So just let it go. But here, see, she's back in the shoulder, behind the shoulder. See there? And the horse got his head out in the wrong side. She goes to switch, and either she stepped on him or bumped him. He wouldn't just fall down. So it's clearly, no question in my mind that it was a knockdown. This is the one, she goes and a little bit rapid, and then just bump and runs. They say, well, what was she supposed to do? She's supposed to pull up a little bit and let that cow get out there, not just turn and keep. She gets in there and turns him, but then the cow's and just runs and clearly knocks him down from the shoulders back. So it's a little out of control, that, you know. Are we okay there? Yeah. So this one, she gets up and gets him circled. And she's got enough of a circle. Why she did that, I don't know. She just, and then just came in on him and just knocked him over. She had enough of a circle to where, I don't know, maybe she was switching sides and just did it with too much cow in front of her. See, she's in good position till she pulls him in there and just mowed him down. You know, maybe she was trying to switch sides, but she was too far up on that cow to be successful at it. Okay, good. All right. So now we've got some runs that are examples of runs that have 2 turns and they're going to go circle them, and there's too much speed, and it doesn't work. Then we have 2 turns where it does work. Then we have 3 turns where it doesn't work and 3 turns where it does. So let's just watch them, run through them. You can make your judgments. Did he make a mistake? Blah, blah, blah. But one thing I think that we overlook is the quick speed on the cow horses. And the horses that are fleet-footed and got that quick instant burst of speed, they don't seem to have any trouble finishing a work because they can get up where they're supposed to be and catch those cows, and they've got a good stride to circle with. So, but the ones that aren't quite as fleet-footed, you have to be more careful how many turns you make because they can't really run, they can't gain that. If they get a little disadvantage and that cow gets ahead of them, they don't have enough quick speed to get up there and get control of them and finish the job. So a lot of time, you know, the really top cow horse people, you don't see them come off the fence very often when they don't turn and have the cow measured right there where they've got control of them. The hard ones are the ones where you turn and the cow gets a jump on you and they get out there and you make a decision, can I get him back to the fence and not look too bad? Or is there a good way I can do it where it's still credit earning? Or should I just go ahead and try and catch him and circle him? And that's the decision they have to make. Sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. They know what they're riding. So we got a really good example of this first horse here. Let's see it. He's having a really, really good run. I mean, really good. And I'm thinking, wow. You know, what I like about the start is this guy's trying to compete, and I'm on their side. I want him to be competitive. Got a good move, beautiful turn, finishes the turn good. And I'm thinking, boy, he's got a run going here, and there's a good run here. And so he made a decision. I'm going to go ahead and circle him. Guess what? Cow beats him a little bit over towards the fence, never gets up there, ever. So his little 75 kind of runs going down. And there, he can't get there, his horse isn't quite got enough, and then he kind of gives up. Those are full minus circles. So you got 2 minus circles and probably an A because he beat him to the fence. So you got 3 points off it. You know, your good run just went to a 72 or 71. If he'd have made another turn, probably been all right. But, you know, that's in the rear view mirror. And he knows what he's riding. We don't. You know, we don't know what it feels like or how fast they can go. So, and this isn't a rider critique, of course, but that one there, I thought was I thought that run was going to just kill him, you know, because it was such a good run started, you know, and competitive and all the things you want to see. So here, I think this is a 3-turn run. Got him where he wants him. Not a terrible fast cow. Turns him into the fence. That's even plus. You can control the cow better if you can turn him into the fence, just like that. But a lot of times you can't. But you got a lot better shot at controlling. This is a really, really good controlling run right here. He had him the whole way. Plus, that was a good circle. This is a high dollar run right here. Never got, you see, a good controlling run. You don't see any voids in there, and it goes real fast. That run from start to finish, it seems, God, how do you do it so fast? You got to have a good horse and a good cow horse to do that. So you should be rewarded and not pick on a horse like that. Say, well, he's this or that. Hey, that's a pretty good run. Give him all the credit you can. So boxing's okay. Let's see what you got. Cow's not too fast. Horse is okay. Got a little penny-eared, and he's lost a little ground there. And he doesn't just get right to him. It's not a quick burst of speed. He's gonna try and circle. He went to the right side, the right place, to get him out in the open part of the arena. But this cow fooled him, is what it amounted to. And he can't. And he's getting outrun, is what he's getting. He fooled him. He thought he was softer than that, and then he picked up another gear, and that happens. But the main jest here is that his horse couldn't run, the speed wasn't enough to compensate for the burst of speed that the animal gave him. And then he gets to see how those destroy it. Your integrity of your run goes down when those end fences get involved. So he gets done with the boxing, but I haven't seen him look at the cow yet. So I'm a little concerned with this horse as far as kind of did okay. He's late getting out of there. I don't know if his heart's in it or he doesn't have very much cow or what. But he's late, he's trailing, tries to get him circled. Can he get up there? You know, he's not even close to being in the right position. I'd put a P on him when they bull on you. They leave you to the left there and on minus with a P. He's so far back. You know, I mean, that's a weak finish. Even he knew it, huh? The nice look is the loose reins, huh? It looks, he's letting him work. Maybe he's a little bit slow coming here and there, but it's a nice look. It's a trusting look. And if he cows, it's even better yet. Not a great turn, but he's got control of him. Another one, those are just, average at best turns, maybe a check minus. But not terrible. Probably I would check them both. Gets up there, trying to finish the run, made 2 turns, and then she read the cow right, and she completes the run. She finished that run with just a turn each way versus some of those other ones, but maybe not the juice, not the speed, read the cow. These are all 2 turns. These are sometimes, I hope there's a good example of a kind of a 70 cow that gets worked well. This might be it, but they aren't got a lot of run. I don't know if this is it or not. Yeah, this might be it. He's not, a soft cow will it'll tell if your horse can rate. Horse reads the cow well. Got him right where he wants him. He isn't a speed ball. Turns him. He's still close. He's all the time close. Going to finish him. Can he do it? Pretty darn good circles to finish. Stays with him, and he's not a speed ball, but this horse controlled that cow real well. That's a real credit earning run right there without a lot of speed. So I think that's better than a 70 cow, but he did a nice job of controlling it, and the kind of went by the numbers. Horse worked good. Same guy, different horse. He's okay. Leaves where he's supposed to. Got him in control. Everything's good. Turned him into the fence. Got a hold of him. No A there. Kind of caught him up when he saw it. There's a 1-point corner. Huh? Pretty good turn, but a 1-point corner. Horse kind of turns him. I love them when they have to wait because they turn and finish so well. There's a turn that's really, really hard, and he kept him there, kept close to him. That's not easy what he's doing there. I'd rather see him out in the middle, but this is kind of a knothead, and you just do the best you can. He got out of there with a above average run even with a corner and stuff like that. So he kept coming. It got for a time that everybody didn't think they could have a real credit unless you just turned them once each way. And I'm glad it went by the wayside because they were getting outrun. You'd go places and it just wasn't good because they would do it whatever the cow had too much run or whatever, they'd try it. And they finally found out it doesn't work and it's okay. But the more turns you make, the more you put yourself in a position that might backfire a little bit on you. So they don't want to take too many, but you take enough to, like this horse here, good turn, turns around, has to wait for him. That's a good turn when they got to do that. There's 2 turns and you think he's soft, but he's going to make another one. See there? And he's centered him up to where you can get a nice circle on there. With 3 turns. And he could have turned him after the second one, but he stays out in the center, and that's getting more important. The more competitive it gets, the little things are more meaningful. So you you give them credit for when they work that, they stay in the right arena locations and stuff like that and finish the job. And that was a nice, smooth run, real correct. And this. Don't let I like what this horse, the kind of look, and I'm not so sure he's working the cow as much as he is the rider's showing him around. But that's not bad, and I'm going to give him a little credit, but that isn't a full plus boxing for me. Because he's got some look, he's got a lot of things, they're trying to show him, and they're trying to show him his best and get all they can. I don't blame them. So here he goes, he's in good shape. The cow give him a quickie. Now this cow runs to the center and he turns him right out. That's a pretty good turn for being out away from the fences, So he's starting to gain ground. He keeps missing to the right a little bit. I don't know if it's a penalty, probably isn't, but there's a little bit of a control issue there. It's either rate and control or something, but he misses both times to the right a little bit. Then he finishes good. There's a hard run to evaluate right there because there's such good things and some that aren't so good. Those are without your sheet, you'd be on your own. Are we done?
No.
For lunch?
No.
Oh. You
Could
got
we-
a question?
Yes.
Oh.
Could we go back and look at, I believe the second horse, was that a Palomino?
The first one was a Palomino.
First one?
Yeah.
Let's look at that one.
And what does it say?
Since the circles are not averaged, would this Palomino horse receive just one penalty, a 1-point A for the circle? Basically what she's asking is, in addition to the negative score, would there be a penalty also?
Okay, good. Let's just speed it up to the circles and we'll figure it out. I'm not hunting we're not hunting penalties. We only put them down when they earn them. So he's a little late coming out. It looks like he's going to do it to me. So he doesn't do it there. I got a full minus. And this horse, I got a full minus on both of them, and I'm going to put a 1-point P, which kind of, both of them were a little out of position a little bit. And I think a 1-point P would cover all that for me. So I would be a full minus on each. I'd take 3 points. I think 3 points needs to come off. There's a couple ways you could do this. If they misunderstood a P that covered both, I would double minus one of those circles because they were that far from being in control, and minus, I'd take 3 points off. In my mind, 3 points got to come off these circles. So how you get there, you know, that's one thing. As a judge, you have to figure out what works for you. And I'd put a 1-point P, working out of position, and a minus both those circles would be 3 points off those circles. So if I was on a 4, it'd be a 1. If I was on a 5, it'd end up being a 2, and that's a bad finish. So it's worse than 2 points. You know, it's worse to me than 2 points off. It kind of beats him to the fence. If I was going to put a loss of working advantage, it'd be on the first set of circles. So, okay. Does that answer a question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the question is how many turns are allowed on the fence? Usually a normal run will be between 2, which is the minimum of a turn each way, and 4. Reason being, the more you turn, the more the animal runs down. They run out of gas. So if you go much more than 4, probably you're getting into the exhaust the cow range of overworking them on either the boxing or the fence, and then your circles not only are diminished because there's nothing left, but if the cow just stops and won't go anymore, that's the whole premise of the fence work is to manage your cattle well enough that you have enough left at the end to get credit earning circles, and you still have control of them. So that's what happens. I'm glad you guys are here, so I have somebody to, because I keep trying to find somebody to go. Yeah. So anyway, but that's why you don't usually turn more than 4 times, is usually the max. But because your cow runs out of juice, and then you've diminished the deal. Plus you got a chance. We don't take very many exhausting a cow. I can't remember the last time we did it, but if you turn them 8 times on the fence and he just stops, you got a 3-point exhaust the cow. You did, because you mismanaged your animal. So that's the answer to that. Okay, so we have some rating good, poor rates. You know, I don't know if this shows a lot, but it'll show a little bit. Rating is, so as you can see from the ones that we've looked at, the horses that rate well usually turn well. And it all starts snowballing. And the ones that don't rate well, like the guy that had the lengths by and gets on the chase, it starts snowballing the wrong way. So a horse that rates well, you're in good shape. And you'll see here there's some real poor rates and some good rates. And really a horse that rates well usually will initiate the turn on his own, and it's what we call a cow horse. And the ones that don't rate well, like the guy that had... That's right. Who is that? So, but the rate and where they set up, and a good rating horse will usually initiate the turn a little bit on his own, and we're seeing. If you have a difficult animal, you almost have to have a true cow horse to stay up with them. If you've got one that you've got to pull to start the turn, the time you pull them and they give their head, you're getting a little bit behind all the time. So a good rating horse is essential for a big score. So let's see on here, see what we got, and we can go through them and. You can almost tell if the horse is interested, and this horse is a little bit questionable to me. Got a little late start. What he did was he started behind. He wasn't in a good control. Now he's on a chase, and the more he chases, and this amounts to poor rate, as he gets back, he has to catch up, and then when the horse gets there, he's still running faster than the cow, and he what we call rates by. And usually it accumulates some penalties, and it's certainly a loss of position and control. And that horse really, it was a good example of not rating well. Here's another one. See, he got a bad start. He's not in the right position. Now he's got to run too fast to catch up. And there he was okay, but but it's made him late there. So the rate is, because of the start, the position and the control, that just magnified that. And now the horse, when he got behind, and then it's just a high-speed chase, and it takes all the credit away. The credit's gone. So. But you can see there, and he isn't far behind in the cow. Usually it's not all the rider's fault. You'll misread the cow, and then they make the jump on you, see? Now this guy's where he's supposed to be, but his horse doesn't even start the turn when the cow stopped. So and then he gets a little late. Now here's the same, this horse isn't cowing, and that's creating this bad, and then he won't go by. So there's a great case of poor rate when you get up there and you ask them to go by to make the turn, and they don't. They refuse to go. It's like the football player Leroy, and he was a great running back, and every time he'd get the ball, the other lineman would cream him. And so finally they're yelling at the deal to the quarterback, "Give the ball to Leroy. Give the ball to Leroy." And finally the quarterback turned around and said, "Leroy doesn't want the ball." And I always think of that when you get a horse like this that won't go by because they know they got to turn. They don't want the ball. So
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago, you were talking about an exhibitor that did not follow the cow work pattern. What is the appropriate score for the cow work?
You've lost me. Say it again. So he doesn't follow the pattern in the rein work?
Well, the question,
Okay. So if he doesn't follow the gal on the paint.
was that, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't catch.
So, okay, so the question is what if they don't do the boxing, the fence work, and then the circles in that order? Well, in the case that we saw, she turned, then she was forced to circle because the horse basically was taking a hold and he ran off, basically is what he did. So she makes a circle, but then she goes back to the fence. So you got all those, what is she doing out there, penalties, but at least she went back to the fence and she made both turns and circled. So you can mark her. It's a legal run with some difficulties in there. It's not automatically a 0 unless she just circled the other way. You got no turn the second way, and that there's a lot of options on some. But she went back to the fence. See, the circle, what amounts to is the circle was out of order. It's not a 0 because she went back and got back in order, except this circle, what was she doing that for? So that run, if I was judging, would be a 60 because he ran off. And you can't do that and get any credit, So she adds a circle. Pretty soon you're going, what's she doing? How about a 60? So that's where it came from,
Right.
So where are we at here? we're at, okay, now we got some pretty good rates. You know, horses that look, they rate themselves, they slow down when the cow slows down, they're rating well. And see, he's not pulling him, watch this, goes by, initiates the turn, he's right where he's supposed to be. So gives him his head, the horse starts the turn, but that's good rate, both ways. Then he even rates well on the circles. You know, that's a real, that little run used to be like a 71. Now you can mark that a 2 or 3 and be right and be right. Because that is soft, but it was real correct. Here's another horse. When they take off, she's in good position, gives this horse his head, steps by, and boom. And he did that a lot on his own. So that's a good rate there because she thought he was going and that horse read the cow and came back on his own. Those are credit earning, good rate type runs. Finishes the job. That's a pretty nice run right there. This one, it doesn't look as good on this video as it did in person, but it was one of those where after the first turn, he came out towards the center and he turned him and rated him back to the fence and got a good turn. And it was pretty impressive. See, he comes out here. Now he's got to get up, but he wants to keep him in this rate right there to make a good turn here. That's real difficult what he did. And he did it pretty darn well. That's what they're doing now for, if you want credit, you know, the idea is to keep them on the fence if you can. And that way when they come out, if he gets over there and can finish that, that's pretty good. It's not ideal because it's ideal to keep them there, but that's the next hardest thing is to do what he did. So, okay. How are we doing questioning? Okay.
Good.
Have we got a question? No?
Nope.
Okay. Now we got circling turns. This is, let me show you what a circling turn is. This is probably our biggest challenge right now, is to get rid of this circling turn. So there's always a challenge, and how the circling turn, let me describe what it is to start with, and then I can tell you the history. And a circling turn is on a 2-turn run only on the second turn of a 2-turn run. That's the only time it happens, the only time. So a circling turn is when you go down the fence and you turn and the cow gets in the open field, or the animal does, in the open field, and you're in hot pursuit like this. And this is him. Now you get up to the front like this and you bring him back this way. So say you're here and the animal's here. Your first question is, was he the cause of this animal turning around and going back the way he came? That's number one. Are you far enough up on him to be the cause of him coming back? That's number one. If the answer is yes, it's not a credit earning turn because there's no form to it, but it is a turn and not a penalty of 5 with no turn each way. So we got a turn that way even though it hasn't got any form to it. So now a true circling turn is when you come, you're still in the circle, and you finish like this. That's a circling turn. Now, the reason we don't like it and the reason we want to don't do it is because we don't know where the circle or the turn stopped and the circle started. Does that make sense? So we don't know that with this type of a deal. So what we want the exhibitor to do, ideally, is when they come around here to go from this side to switch sides here and make your first circle this way. The reason for that is they've told us that's where my turn stopped and this is where my circle started. Now it's easier for for the judge to understand and to score the run accurately. So here in this situation where they switch, you got probably a no formie turn, a check minus at the minimum, and probably a minus turn because of the form. You would, if you took a slice out of that turn like that, you wouldn't know if he was circling or turning. You wouldn't know the difference. So it can't be a credit earning of any sort. It's just a turn with no form is what it is. So now if you switch, so you got a minus on the turn, no big deal. You switch, this could be a credit earning circle. It could be a really good circle, and the rest, your whole run is credit earning, and you got one minus turn that you average in, so you're not out very much. Now, if you come and you still circle this way, that's where we have a problem. So, what we want you to do on this scenario here is put a P up there like that, and we want you to circle that P. And the circle means that we don't have a 2-point penalty for that, but we want 2 points to come off of that type of run. So next year we'll have a 2-point penalty. This year we don't. But this, to me, if I put this above the circles, it would signify 2 points for my score. So when I got done with my score, I would score this accordingly. I would score probably a minus on the turn, and I don't know where the circle started or, where it started and stuff, so I'm going to be probably on negative on the circle. The problem with these runs is they're usually real good runs. They're real close. They're looking them in the eye. You want to get all over them, except they do that. Now, that's why it's so hard to get rid of and why it's so hard to evaluate correctly. So what my goal is hopefully we can get a 2-point penalty for a non-switch sides on that, and then you can mark the rest of the run just for what it's worth, as they say. Mark it positively, whatever, but you got the 2-point penalty. So here you got a 2-point penalty with, this is what I'm going to do, and then but here you have to come off of the turn because it's no form, and here you don't know about the circle where it starts, and so you can't get any credit there. So we want you to tell us where it all started. We want the exhibitor to take responsibility. And but the reason it happens now on occasion is it's real hard. It's harder to switch sides when you're going fast like that for a long time. And sometimes the horse will tell on you, and it's easier to do this. So that's the circling turn. I got a beautiful example of it, and every one of them that I've seen has been, you want to get all over it except for that. So it's a difficult thing. Where it came about was there was a guy in Florida, and he would do this and almost hold up on the turn and get going out here, and then he would do this. And he ended up winning the year-end award. They would just mark him to death, 75, 76, and all of a sudden everybody started doing it. He said, wait a minute, To back up even further, as the cow horse evolves, which it's so positive and getting so good, and it seems like it's going to get better, and when you say, I don't know how they could do this any better, and then they do. And so you say, okay, well, how do we get rid of this, or what are we trying to accomplish here? It got to be for a while that they almost wanted them to get out in the open field because they would almost get overmarked if they controlled the cow and made turns in the open field. So they would get around behind him and almost lose them off the fence to get out in here. And the Snaffle Bit Futurity's been won with an open field turn, And then all of a sudden we said, and the other half of the cow horse people said, well, how'd they get out there in the first place? Were they loss of working position or what? And you go, wait a minute, wait. And you get to looking about down here, and you go, hey, he drove him out there, So guess what? You don't get the credit that you thought you got because, you know, you were at fault when you drove him. You lost control of him here and he got out here now. And so it ends up being where the whole event started. You keep him on the end, you control him, and you keep him as best you can on the fence and work him, and then come out and circle in the open part of the arena. And I'm getting real basic, but that is where we want to be, and that, if you can be, that's where you should be, to win first. You should hold them. You should be able to hold them and circle them out here without the fences. Now you're talking hard stuff, control, all the ingredients. The reason I know that is when the open field turns got to be the flavor of the month. There was 3 really good runs one year at the Snaffle Bit and the Bridle. 2 open field and a traditional cow horse run. And so I'm pretty sure that the 2 open field runs, and the crowd was going nuts. They got marked higher than the traditional cow horse hold 'em on the fence run. And when I got done, I wasn't so sure we were going the right way with all this. So I got the videos and I sent them to 3 or 4 of our judges that judge big events, and they've been around for a while, and I pretty much have a lot of confidence in them, in their opinions. And I sent them it, and I said, mark these 3 runs. Now the 2 open field all of them had the traditional cow horse run winning it. All of them. And I thought, bingo, that's where we want to be. So this kind of stuff, this added stuff in here like this, really, we want them to be over here against that fence. It's harder. This shouldn't be the ultimate. It's not. Number one, we want them to tell us that when they quit and circle, and we want them to take responsibility for that. And we're gonna. Trust me, this is going to go bye-bye. It doesn't show up very often, but when it does, it's usually meaningful. So anyway, but when you're judging, if you got this, or they try and hold them over there, and they do that stuff, give them some credit for the hard. That's hard, and they've got to be in good position to do that. So let's run this deal, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You see how hard that is to evaluate properly, because that horse is like old Seabiscuit, looking him in the eye the whole time. I mean, that's hard to do. All he'd had to do is switch, and bingo, it's high dollar stuff. But he doesn't tell us that. He doesn't even, you know, our rule book says pull up and show some separation to show us that's the end of your turn, and now you can circle that way. That's the least thing we would like. And then and the other one is to switch sides. Those are the 2 things you can do. He didn't do either one of them, and he got marked too much. He did, and it wasn't good. And but you can see why they want to mark him too much, because he's just like a blanket on him. Wasn't he? I mean it's impressive, but he has to do that for us. He has to, or else his run content has to suffer. And we're going to work on this penalty. You put 2 points, take it off there, judge the run, there it is. They'll quit doing it. That's the way it works. But the judges have to do it to change. Judges, but you got to do it consistently. And so we're careful with it, but that's what's going on. That's our biggest challenge right now. So now we've got some runs that if they show form, stop it one more time. So now I'm putting more parameters on a true open. I want to take a little of the gray out of the open field turn areas and put a little more structure to it. So And this will be helpful to the judges. So a true open field turn, say they turn down here and they go out here like this, 80% of that turn should be in the open field. So if you get, in other words, if you go up like this and you get all the way over by the fence, okay, is 80% of it in the open field, or now you're over here? Well, if you got here, you probably wouldn't do this. You know, you'd probably switch sides and make another turn. So when you get into the open field, like, I screwed up my deal here. So we've got a couple runs, and I don't want it to be confused with an open field turn. So these are going to turn here, and here's your open field, like this. And these turn, and then they come up like this, and they'll do this. That isn't considered an open field turn. There's too much, it's not open enough. So this is, and especially, we've always looked at it, did they use their hocks at all when they turned? If so, they can circle either way. If you use the hawk, you can say, nope, that's my turn, now this is the circle. And if they use their hawks, that's the point where you can say that. You guys with me? I got 4 people here I'm talking to, and I want some action. I want some acknowledgement, not just blank looks, John. So this is more of a U-turn, not a real circling turn, because it's not in the 80% of it isn't in the open field. So, and usually they'll, within this 20 foot, they'll slam a hawk in the ground here somewhere. Now these horses can circle either any way they want. Really, the only dividing line there is to get out to where it's the most open part, you see. Are you with me with that? So that's why I think 80% of it has to be out here, or else it's not even considered. Now, and like these 2 runs we have right here, they came at the same event. And somebody said, were those circling turns? And I said, no, because of this. They were, number one, they're here, but they circled the same way. You know, that kind of thing, which they can do. It looks better if you switch because it's harder, especially if you're way down in, you want to come out here, see? So switching is harder. Switching gets credit because it's difficult and you get to the open part of the arena, but it isn't necessary to have a pretty good run and come the same way, because maybe it sets up that way and maybe you got enough open field, and why not? So anyway, you don't have to, but if you're in that questionable area and you can, why wouldn't you? Because you got a chance for more credit. So here's horse number 2, and this is the case. Is he in the open field? Does he use a hawk? Because he circles the same way. Starbucks with a twist. See, isn't there any question that that's a turn? See, and he can circle either way. This was a pretty good, this horse scored well, and he should have. I don't know if he was that good, but. So, and then this one, basically they all circled the same way they turn, and the 2 are sure enough fine, and there's nothing wrong with it, but the first one was the villain. This horse really has control of this cow, and then he just jumps in there. You can go either way. Those are really good circles right there. He's up in the front. He's got control of that cow. Those are real good circles. So, any questions on any of that? No. Okay, this is, now this is kind of a, where you know, as we go, the little things are more meaningful for the higher scoring runs. So these are, do they switch sides to get to the open part of the arena? or do they stay and crowd themselves on the ends? And this first one is an amateur, and it's about you can see, you go, oh, I'm glad she did that, because it would have ended up being circles. So you watch this. This is a really, and this is, I think, an amateur, and it blows out at you, and you think, hey, I'm going to go over some credit here. Because they turned enough to where they didn't really need to do it except for their position in the arena, because there's no question that horse turned it. But look at here. See how that explains it. See, that's a real positive. If I was judging, I would like what she did there, you know. Not that she had to, but it was the right thing to do. That's the best example. So here, you know, sometimes they switch, they don't really, it isn't necessary. But look at this guy, he turns those cattle into the fence. That's a real hard move right there. And he switches and gets a good hold of him there, huh? You got to have a good cow horse to do that. He stayed in the center. I mean, he finished that work strong, and he could have circled either way. He had him turned. Everything was good. He was over by the fence, you know. But they're getting it just more meaningful. See how they come out and then they get him back over there, and he gets down there and gets himself a one-pointer, but he wants to get away from that end and come this way and switches over there and gets him out there. See, that's what you have to do now. You got to get away from those and finish. You set it up. Even though he's down on that end, the fences don't mean anything. You know, they're not influencing the circles. So get out where you can, if you can. So this is a good example of. Here's what's happening. They come out. He has to make a choice. Can I get him back over there? So he makes a circling turn. Then he switches sides. So he told us, that's my turn, and here's my circle. You know, that's the perfect switch on a turn. That was the way we want it to happen right there, is you switch. He knew he had just a marginal, he knew he got him turned, but it wasn't a good turn, but then he switched to show us the end. That's what we want you to do, right there. He switches. See, those are just, it usually works out to their advantage. You know, it really does. It works out to the exhibitor's advantage. And I know when you're judging it, it simplifies it and allows you the credit and not the gray. The gray that you go, gee whiz, why didn't do that? You know, it just makes it clearer. So, all right. Now we're at the new cow issue. Do they need one? Do they should have got one? You know, without doubt, the new cow issue is our hardest call, without a doubt. And it usually relies on one person. We've tried it with all 5 of them. And pretty soon somebody will go nuts and start blowing them off, and everybody looks around. But in reality, the one that you rely on and put that added responsibility, they also have to judge. And so a lot of times you're trying to figure out if they need a new cow, and you go, how much can I give them credit on the boxing? You're not sure they need a new cow. You know, it's very hard. I would hope that the exhibitors give credit to the difficulty that the one judge is facing, and then when you miss one once in a while, that's the one they all want to turn to. You know, you have to really be on their side whether you agree with them or not in a multiple judge system. It's very hard, and we try and do it right. I think my basic criteria is, is two things. Can they compete at all on this animal? Can you, or does he just take it away from you? And the worst for me are you start out and you're in pretty good shape, starting down the fence, and the first thing the cow does is cut in front of you. That's a terrible, dangerous. I'm almost to automatic give them a new cow, especially at the World Show. It's really, they come around the corner and they just do that. That's dangerous stuff. Even if I'm wrong, I might give them a new one, you know, because it's too dangerous. And it takes right away. They'll usually just keep coming, and you don't have a chance at any credit. You're already in the hole. So even if you're pretty much up where you're supposed to be, that's the tough call. The other one is go down the fence the first time. Did he stall out on you and turn back, or did you overrun him? You know, that's two tough ones. And then the slow loper is the third one. Is there enough there to mark a 70? You know, if there is, it's the draw. It's a drawing contest. If not, I'm going to give you a new cow. Those are the three criteria. Did he? And they're all tough to evaluate. So we've got some on here. We'll look. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. See, now this cow looked okay. I don't know how great, but if he keeps turning him down there, it'll go away, see? And so I'm okay with him, but the first thing he wants to do is just what I was talking about. No, and he kind of pushes out, and then he just falls away from him and goes back the other way. So that's a tough one even for a really good horse. He missed him there. But every time he gets there, he fades away from him. It's a tough call, this one, because he might have created a little of that, but then they stall out. You know, when he did, I'd want to give him more of a chance than that. I would give him a new cow, even though he might have done, used to be, if you lose him off the end, they would always say, well, he lost him off the end, I'm not giving him a new cow. But they can lose him off the end for me, and if you go down there and you get set up and you go to turn him and everything's right, and he just runs through you or does something, I'm going to still give you a new cow. You've got to have a chance to compete, or you'll quit. You know, if you run into enough of them, they don't allow you to compete, you won't like it. So I want them to do their part, like on him. He tried, he might have stayed a little bit too long on the end. But when that cow, when he pushes this way and then all of a sudden drops that way, you know, that's hard. That's pretty hard to compete with. So I would have probably given him a new cow. So, okay. It's different with an open rider. This isn't a new cow. We passed him up, I think. Is there any more on the new cow?
This one's labeled new cow number 2.
Oh, it is? Okay. All right. Okay, that's good. Okay, this one, you're right. This one is, sometimes these exhibitors, you know, they're trying to exhibit, it doesn't always go right, but he tries to turn, and he's not at the front of the cow. So then he's thinking, I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, you know, maybe I can play this a little bit and get a new cow because my horse fudged me a little bit there, but the judges didn't fall for it. So, in other words, he got up, the horse tried to cheat him a little bit, and the cow got here, he never did get to the head and try and block him. You know, I want him, if this cow, when they run up there, not every cow is going to honor your horse when you get to the front of them. And you're looking at them like this, and you're going straight, and they're not taking the bait and you're in front of them, guess what? If you go like this to block them and they don't take the bait, they run through you, I'm gonna give you a new cow. If you don't do that and you just go around the end, you're on your own. You didn't try hard enough. So you gotta try and block them. If you do, it's an easy call for me. So, okay. Got another one? Tanner?
No, not for new cow.
Okay, good. Now what do we got? Blocking the cow?
Yes.
Okay. So we're doing just what I was talking about, blocking the cow. It's a hard move. You know, usually you have to move away and step up and then block. But it's required. If you can't just stare them down and think they're going to take. Now this guy, he pulls out, cow doesn't, and this horse reads that cow real well, and he finishes. That's a good turn. So gets out here, the cow doesn't take, so now he blocks him, just like I said right there. But he blocked him the right way too, because he bumped him and turned him in towards the fence. He could keep control of that. That was pretty good. Here's one that blocks him. They get up to the front, they won't take, bounces him back, but I think this turn, he gets up to the front and just turns him. The cow didn't really turn there, but he did. He did everything he could because he was up there and stopped that forward motion of that cow and turned him out this way. They're working a cow for what the cow is what they're doing. And that's important for those those events. You have to do that. You don't get all the best draw in town. That's why the cow horse is such a friendly sport. You can help your friend, you can help your enemy. You still got to draw the cow and work them versus the reining or something where it's just you and the horse and that's all you have to control. You can't be as friendly with them. You can't tell them all your secrets. But you can with this because you still got to draw them. And that's why it's such a friendly sport, is because you got to draw them and you got to work them. So anyway, okay, what's next? Three runs. Okay, get your sheets out. We got 3 runs to judge. Let's see if you've learned anything. And then we'll go back over them. Probably wearing everybody out with us. Huh?
I've got another score sheet for you, a fresh score sheet.
Okay. without breaking them down, it looks to me like the last horse should win, the first horse should be second, and the second horse should be third. So we could break those down, but I think with your groove on this horse, you know, all of them had little things you didn't like, but they had some things you did. This horse had more control of the situation, had a little more degree of difficulty. The third horse kind of dove in there a little bit, but he controlled him the whole time. Switched sides really neat on that last turn. Finished his job pretty good. First horse was just pretty good, you know, here and there. He was a little late, turning a little bit, but he was okay. You know, he still had some credits there. And then the second horse, his rate killed him. He couldn't get him by. He got a 1-point corner, you know, and he was having to work at it the whole way to try and get him. You know, it's like a 69 or 70 kind of run, kind of in the middle average at best, and the second one was kind of a 2-ish, and the other one was a 3, something like that. That's what I'd have them, you know, just from looking at them. How you got there, how you worked them, you have to watch how your turns were and use your sheet, and you'll end up with the answer, but they should go in that order. If you're in those categories, you're successful, and if you had them in the right order, that's even better yet. But you should have them kind of, you know, the one's got to be you've got to be on the bottom. So, everybody okay there? So we have 3 runs to test practice, huh? Let's run those. Get your sheet out and judge them and see how you do. Just like this one here, it's just a kind of a repeat, and I'll tell you what I came up with, and we'll see how you did. Okay? Yeah. All right. We're on? Okay. Those are hard runs to judge. I think we got a clear-cut winner, the second horse. You know, the roan horse is the winner. The other two, they all have little faults. This last horse did everything pretty good, but he stumbled, had a bad turn, I'm put an A on him. So, and then the first horse is rude in the face. Did he have a questionable A? Struggled with him a little in the circles. You know, that kind of deal. I think for my money, I would have the second horse first, the last horse second, and then but I don't think that you'd be wrong switching the first and the third one, but I like the finish and all that on this last horse better than I did. You want to see him again? Or we can put let's mark them on our sheet and see which one wins. How about that? Wouldn't that be better? Okay. So I just point out the highs and the lows, but, okay, let's run them again. You can do it at home, and we'll see who wins. How about that? And forget about this. This horse was hard to judge because, and you can go ahead because they give him a new cow, just skip ahead. But he does some things, there's some juice here, there's some degree of difficulty, and yet there's some things that are pretty unimpressive as far as wrestling him around and stuff. So let's just go ahead and mark him and see what we come up with. I don't like that, what he did there. He slammed him in the ground. You know, he said, hey, you're going over here and I want you to stop here. Then he makes a little bit of a comeback, but I wasn't impressed with that big whoop, so. Kind of, you know, I don't want to hold it. Okay, stop it for a minute, Tanner. So the question is, how much does this mean? Does he get back to check, or are you going to hold it against him check minus? You know, I didn't like that. Made a little bit. I'm just going to leave him alone and let the rest of the run tell us what the answer is. So he's moot. I mean, there was a little bit of good and not so good. So anyway, I'm going to let him go there. That's what I do. And let the fence work and stuff. So gets out of there okay, huh? Gets up to the front, decent turn, kind of reads the cow a little bit. Is it an A? I don't think so. But I don't like that too good right there, you know? So that's a position in control for me. That's a pretty good turn there. Gets out here, gonna get him circled up. Kind of looks like he's hit him upside the head and he's not really got a hold of him. You know, so I don't know, I might be picking on him a little bit. Okay, so let's go back. How about our turns? Check plus? Huh? Check plus the turns. Okay, so my average is check plus. How about the rate? Rate was okay, wasn't it? Huh? Check plus? Yeah, I mean, he kind of rated okay down there. Okay. So our circles, at best, they're checks, aren't they? Wrestling around, you didn't like one. The first one was probably worse. Check minus. And check the second one. I like that. Check minus and check. Position and control, I'm going to hold that against him a little bit where he rolled out there. So I'm going to check minus that. You know, he was okay on his rating and stuff, but I mean check minus. Okay, and then degree of difficulty, he had a little bit, but a little bit was his fault. So check, and I appeal, maybe a check minus. Yeah. So I think that reflects what happened, huh? Are we okay with that? I don't have an A on him or anything, so I got, what do I got? 71, 70 and a half, 70, 69 and a half. He's in the middle category, huh? 69 and a half. Is that everybody okay with that? Am I doing this right? 71, 70, 69 and a half. Okay, I'm with you. There was something about that horse. His ears were back. I didn't get on his side very good. He's in the middle there somewhere, you know? If you got those two, it's okay. So the second horse, let's run him. I think that was realistic. Stay with me, baby. You see all right? So nothing much on his own, but like a lot of them, check. Huh? Check. We're check. Use his mouth a little bit. You know, some things you're not quite so critical on, but he gets out of here okay. Cow's got a little run. Sets him up good. Decent little turn, finishes real good. I'm gonna check plus or plus the turn. I like that too. So he's starting to missed him a little bit there, but not bad, and ends up in a good position. Gaps his mouth a little bit, but he kind of rolls right around there. Decent circle. And that's just a circle. So I'm gonna go right to that. Circle was a check. Okay, let's go back to the turns. Check pluses, plus. He got out of there pretty good. Huh? Check plus, plus. Say if you were, it's hard to get on a plus when they don't just drop on the ground and all that. He had control of him. He finished well, but I think check plus is probably the answer. Check plus, so that's my, okay. His rate was pretty good. Check plus. Not great, pretty good. Because the last one he missed him just a touch, but not bad. And the first circle, how about that? He come off, he had to pull him around. Is it a check or is it a check plus? Check, okay. Okay, here's the one where I'm going to kind of get on this horse. I thought he had him in control the whole way. There was little things in there, but he had him. And it didn't take long to get done. He might have opened his mouth a little bit, but he had him. So I want to give him credit right there. Degree of difficulty is just check. I'm going to stay with a check. Even though he used his mouth a little bit, I think I've deducted enough because of that. Huh? You know what I mean? Some things, the best judges know some things you overlook and they don't have enough, pack enough weight, and some of them pack a lot of weight. But on that, it didn't mean much to me, so I'm going to leave him alone. So what do we got here? We got 71, 72? Yeah. Pretty good score. He's in the pretty good category. He's certainly 2 points better than the other one, isn't he? So I'm okay with that. 72. I'm okay with that score. I think that's a good score. Well, let's see the third one, see where he goes. How about that? See how the sheet works. You just got to work it, you know. Horse kind of he looks like he's got a little bit of push on him, and you know, he needs to be guided, but he isn't doing anything bad, and you know, he's not just throwing down, but he's got a control of him. I mean, flip his head a little bit. I'm going to check him. Check the boxing. Gets out there good. Stumbles. Okay, Tanner, hold up. Good. Okay, so what do you do with that? He stumbled, minus the turn. Minus the turn. Got out of there a little bit late, too far from me, so I'm going to A him. Okay? And then he jumps right back up and where he's supposed to be. Okay, turn around. Cameras, roll. So, pretty good turn here. Finish the turn well. Another decent turn, controlling turn. And this is a good finish here. Really good finish. Gets up there, looks him in the eye. like old Seabiscuit did. Okay, good. Those are good. So our rate, you know, the first one when he stumbled and stuff, you can't give him much there, but then he rated pretty good. I'm back to a check, huh? Okay, his second turn, pretty good. Plus the turn. I'm going to plus that turn. The third turn was pretty good. I'm going to check that one. He was controlling. You probably could give him a little bit more. Let's give him a little bit more. Check plus. See, there's where you're going to have to think about how your average comes out. Okay. So then your circles, the first circle, you know, they didn't have the juice to me for the one, but they were both sure enough where he was supposed to check plus both of them. Huh? So check plus. So we're getting close here. Okay, your position in control. You know, he lost him out of the first one, but then he got back. So, you know, your balance, you're trying to balance. What is it? It's a check is what it is. Degree of difficulty is a check, and so is eye appeal. Huh? So here's our challenge. You gotta check. This would be, if you have a minus and a plus, it's a check. Now you got a check and a check plus. But you got that terrible first turn. So I'm going to check it. Fair enough? It's between a check and a check plus. The other ones are pretty good, but I don't know if they outweigh that first stumble deal and all that. So I'm going to stay with a check. Is that fair enough? And I'm going to circle that one. So there's what my sheet looks like. I got a 1-point penalty. And see how we shake out. See what it comes up with, see? So what do you got here? You got 71. You got a 70. That's a good score for that run because he had a pretty good hole in that run. So he's a 70, and he beats this one. And you know what? I want him to. Huh? The finish was better. They didn't have to wrestle him. The other horse did some stuff better, but I like that one. But they're both in the middle category, so if you had them and they're half point apart, you're not wrong. You with me? Even our sound men are with me. Huh? But I mean, without this A, it'd be a 71. Huh? Even with that bad thing, he beats that other one. Doesn't he? I think that's a good score. That's how that sheet works. That's why you need to work the sheet like you, because I wouldn't know that. Would you? Okay. Any other questions on the chat, Matt, or whatever we're on? Because I'm just about checked plussed out. Huh? Huh? No other questions? Okay. So I think that's pretty much got me done with that.
Let's talk about the rating, just address it.
Just address the rating. Okay, we're gonna do this just a quick, I don't have, you know, I got videos, but they don't work. But do we just talk about it? Okay. Okay, I think we need to.
Now, I have the ratings and NRCHA score sheet if you want.
No,
But, okay.
not if we're not gonna show it, but I think we can talk as much as. We have, it used to be, when we started out, you know, I always took it for granted that everybody went to the NRHA judges school, and I was wrong. Because I thought everybody had an NRHA judges card, and I was wrong again. So the more we go, the more the differences between the NRHA form and stuff versus the NRCHA comes to light. So the more we realize that, the better we can judge our cow horse reined work. And so, because I think we were all at fault in that we all thought it was really similar. And it is similar in that it does have maneuvers. They have 7 or 8, we have 7. It does have circles and stops and spins. So they don't have so many spins, but they do have spins. We don't have any rollbacks, and they do. So there's differences. But as we went, at first, it started out to where it was the easiest ones, the easiest part of our 3-event system to come together on. And then all of a sudden, it got to be the hardest to come together on. And I got to being fearful of it and wondered why it was so hard. All of a sudden, we started getting spreads. Well, we've got a lot of people in our events that came from the reining discipline. And they're good reining horse people. And they know how to do it. And they know the little nuances of the reining. Because it's meaningful because that's all they have to judge on. We've got 3 things to judge on, and they've only got 1, so they have to be, quote, more perfect, I think, is what they're good. So they come in, and all of our fence work, cow working type horse trainer, cowboy horsemen that we have, I salute them all because they're all good horsemen. They love to starve, so they stayed. And but anyway, at first they were offended with the reining people because they got such a jump on them because they're reining, we weren't used to it. You know, way back in the day, if you just changed leads somewhere before you went the other way, we thought that was a complete success until they showed up, you know. So anyway, now you got to change where it says in the pattern. So anyway, as we went, I thought, why are we starting to get these spreads? So I got down and I go to all the reining. I'm a reining horse judge as well as a cutting horse judge, and the reason I do that anymore is so I can bring it to our cow horse people. That's why I do it. So I don't necessarily think that they're all just right or wrong, but I want to know what they're doing and how they're looking at these things so we can make the right decisions on how we look at it and be it's not the same. We don't cut the same. Once you run a horse up and down the fence 900 miles an hour, they don't cut like a cutting horse anymore, you know? So there's a difference there. And our horses, once you run them up and down the fence, they don't rein like an NRHA loose rein reining horse. They don't. They're a little more up in the bridle. So some of our maneuvers are harder to evaluate. So like a run and a stop, you know, in the reining, if they hit the ground and they'll skip once, it's a negative. It's a -1/2. With us, they hit the ground, they keep their form, and then hit it again. And I go, is that a -1/2 for us? And the answer is no. And the reason is, our ground is different. We're not set up to slide in dry and not deep like a reining horse ground is. They set it up just for reining, for sliding. So they're going to naturally hold the ground better than one that's wet, a little wetter, and for a cow horse event to keep them standing up. So there's differences, but it took time to understand the differences, you know. But there's some things that don't change. And every time I go, I always bring this to the judges' room. I say, you know, it's very important. The middle of the arena is very important. It all revolves around there, you know? So your circles, you know, they should connect here. I'm not telling you anything you probably don't know, but I got to tell you anyway. So you connect there. So you come around here, you connect here. So it all revolves here. You get out over in here when you come around here, you drop the maneuver score. So how much? How do we get it? What if these are good and those aren't? And all this kind of stuff. So I said, how do I get them to see it better? How do I do this, you know? So I say, well, we break these down. Let's break them down a little bit more. So one of the things we bring is a lope-in pattern You know, I'm going to back up for a minute. Here's your gait. We started out with trot-in patterns. The reason we trot in is to get to here faster so we can have more runs in a shorter time. So when they trotted in, we let them come around here. If they broke a couple steps, it didn't matter. It still doesn't. You know, we just want them to get here and stop before they start. Even if they took 2 or 3 lopes, as long as they trotted the majority of the way, it's okay, and it still is. We haven't gotten more critical of a trot in, okay? So a lope in is different. Once you come in the gate and you pick up the lope, you've got to stay in the lope. If you break gate, it's a 2-point penalty. If you take the wrong lead, it's a 1 point. All penalties are in force till you get to here. That's when the maneuver starts, right there. You don't stop. If you do, you get a 0 score. You've added a maneuver, okay? So your lope in, it says in the book, come around and just continue to lope. The only penalties up to here, which there's very few, and the riders like lope in patterns versus run-in patterns where the horses get amped up. They don't do it here because you're loping quite a ways at a constant speed. They don't mind it, and it works great. And very few penalties. We like it, they like it, goes fast. The bigger the numbers, the more we like it. So we get back to here. How do we get our cow working people, our judges and all of it to see those maneuvers without being a +1/2 to a -1/2? You know, that's, or keep your 0. How do we keep it small and not back into that 0 all the time? And when it's really good, only +1/2 them, stuff like that. You know, that's the challenge that we have because the different looks in the cow horse rein work. So, you know, what I do, I bring them in here. I say, how's this circle? Is it pretty good? I mean, is it real good? How about the, you know, way of moving, stuff like that? You know, go over the credits, smoothness, finesse. They're the same credits as the reining. They're important. Are they guide willingly? Are they resistant? You know, we're not just cracked down on it, but we look at it that way. Are they a good guy? Are they on your team? Are they trying to do what you want them to? Now, okay, so that's good. Do they hit the center? You know? Do they slow down and is it good? Or do they start slowing down over here? You know, which is less degree of difficulty, you're less of a challenge. So we want them to slow down in a certain area, you know, that kind of thing. And we're starting to make a little structure out of our cow working reined work that they have with the reining, but ours is a little different because of the look. And you can have a little more hold of them, and their heads are a little higher and stuff like that. So we accept all that. You know, we have basically the same penalties. You know, if you're real late, if you're come through here and you turn this way and you've been on this lead and you make this turn and you're still on this lead, you're 1 point out of lead. If you come too far out here before you go this way, you're 1 point out of lead, pretty much the same. You know, we concentrate pretty good. I wanted to get more credit on the circles. You know, I've tried to do that. I think it's important. Those ones that are on your side that change leads right here. You know, we have the ones that you want them to go faster, but they're more perfect. You know, is it a +1/2 or is it a 0? That kind of thing. Can you get on a 1/2 and back it up? You know, that's what we look at. Come around. Now on your rundowns, we break it down to your rundown and then your stop. It's easier when you say, they used to say to me, you can't have a +1 stop with a poor rundown. And I said, no, that's not right. This horse, look at the stop. Well, if you just looked at the stop, it was a +1, but the rundown was a -1/2. That's what they were talking about, is because they're both the same maneuver. So the -1/2, you can't have a +1 because this was poor and this is real good, so it's either a +1/2 or a 0. And that's what they were talking about, but I didn't know that, you know. So now I do. So it's easier when you do that. Well, the rundown was a -1/2, but this was really good. Where am I? It gives you a little more something to hold on to and to grab a hold of and to help you. That's what it is a help. So ours is a little more difficult in that you're evaluating this run and stop. All of a sudden, they got a 3.5 spin that you're evaluating, and then you're starting the next maneuver. You got 3 things. If you're still laying on the run and stop, and what'd he do with a spin, and now all of a sudden he trots. You got your hands full, so you got to be ready for all that. Whereas a reining, you run down, stop, and roll back. That's one maneuver. You got 15 minutes before the next one. So you can think it over pretty good. Just, kind of run it up and down and see what you're going to come up with. And I'm just teasing, of course, but in a way I'm not, because ours is faster and stuff. So anyway, that's how, and I know all of our judges at the major events and all that, these guys are wanting to get better. And they listen, not that I know everything, but I want us all to get better as one. And I get from them and they get from me, and they bring things up to me that I think are valuable and help me evaluate in these. The only thing I can see that's coming, and most people are reluctant to do, is once in a while a +1.5 is raising his head. And nobody does the 1.5 because we never have. A +1.5. Once in a while. One of those good, one of our good competitors, and it made me think about it. One of our good competitors, he says, in this Derby, there was a lot, 4 or 5 horses that had +1 stops. And he said, I was one of them. And I said, okay, I saw it. Yeah, I agree. And he says, and I looked at those videos. He wasn't saying it bad, but he said, my horse was quite a bit better than those +1s. And I'm thinking, you're right. He should have got a +1.5. He was right. So there's that. Does it only go to a 1? No, it goes to a 1.5 once in a while. The problem is a 1.5 is your score will be higher than everybody else, and you'll think, maybe you were the only one that was right, that evaluated that right. You got to be strong-willed to stay there, because once you do it, you got to stay. So those things are starting to happen. It's like back in the day, they all were worried about the high scores in each of the 3 events. And how come the cow work was always higher scored? And then the herd work was always the lowest scored. And the rein work was in and out. So how come? Do we want to have them all even? The answer is no. The reason the cow work is always the highest is that is our game. That is the tiebreaker. That is why we're there. And that's what wins the snaffle bit futurity, is the cow work. So they work on that, and they're good at it, and it's hard to do. And if you do it, you're in. So that's okay with me. So then here comes the herd work. And guess what? There's been some 6s here. Not the win and runs are 219 anymore. They're up there. So they're getting, not a lot of them, but they're getting up there even if you want to get even. And then the rein work, once in a while, you'll get one of these killer bombs and 225 all day, and let's go. And maybe they're under mark, only 7 maneuvers. That's pretty good. So we're getting there. We're recognizing it. We stay with the structure. You stay with that center. You get those even rundowns and good square stops, and the farther, the better your horse is, the faster you go and the more you show us, and you'll get rewarded. And they're not scared. Nobody's as scared to +1 on those deals. So it's all good. It's what we're doing now on the generic weekend horse show. There's a lot of 71s anymore. The boxing classes, 71.5. They're starting. They're changing lead. They're getting the centers. These guys the trainers are smart. And whatever it is, they accept the challenge and they fix it. And they get better and they figure it out. That's what's happening. They figure out how to do it better. And then it's better. And then everybody figures, hey, It keeps going up. That's what's happening. It's all going up. And there's more of those good ones, and they're bred good. Stuff like that, so.
Hey, Bill, how long after the spin should the rider leave the end?
Up to the rider. I think you can stall too long, you can hesitate too long. I don't think you want to whirl around and roll out of there, but you know, it says hesitate in there, but it doesn't mean we don't pay a lot of attention to that. It's not a tiebreaker of any sort. You just want to show us that's over with, and now we're going to do the other. That's enough for us, okay? You know what I mean? Show us that spin is over with. It doesn't just, that's okay. We don't get too critical on that. You know, this is basically started with a cowboy event. Didn't start in someplace else. You know, it started where you pull your hat down and show us your stuff, and we don't pick on them. We want to balance it out and get the right horses scored the best and use common sense and not pick on them. If they deserve a penalty, they get it. If they don't, the hardest thing, or a couple penalties that are hard, without question, the break a gate might be the hardest penalty to analyze. And, you know, I'm on a big crusade to figure it out, and I will. I'll figure out, because I want to get a hold of something on a break a gate. I don't want to say, well, he lost the cadence of the lope and he did that. And you say, really? Well, he's still loping behind. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm going to figure that one out for us, for our deal. And then it'll give the judges something to grab a hold of when you video review them. You know, so that's a tough one. The other, well, I lost my train of thought. There's another tough penalty that the over-under spins on the ends. You're up here. It's almost like a marker, you know. On a marker penalty, we drag, here's your marker, we drag inside the marker, on the inside of them, to give us some kind of indication if they don't make the marker. If you see the slide marks in there, you know, where they stopped, and they're standing in that drag mark, they didn't make the marker. And that's really tough, because you're looking this way and that way on the markers. Plus, when they spin and you end up like this, it's real hard to tell from here if it's an eighth, if it's a half. You know, if I can see the side of them from up here, I pretty much know they overspin. It's a 1. But I've had too many of them do this and then go straight. And I don't pick on them. I leave them alone. Now, reining, most of your spins are here. You can tell pretty much if they're there or facing you. It's easier call, where ours is tougher, you know? So, Patty, you want me to, anything else?
I think that's really good. Covered everything.
I think the main thing is the difference in the look with the bridle and this and a little more of a tight rein, you know, close. If they're pulling on you, it's not good. But if they're up in like a bridle horse, where you got pictures of those old bridle horses that got their poles up a little bit, you know, that's okay. That goes with our game, you know. And we've even, to make it easier on the horses and the riders, we've even started having the reining portion first, instead of having the herd work and then have to stay up all night getting them to rein, you know. So we have the reining first so they can get that ready and get it, and then do the herd work. And so it's all such a plus. You know, we're fortunate as we can, between the ranch riding and the versatility and the cow horse, I mean, this is where it's going. This is where it's at. And it's fun, and it's good. And it takes a good hand and a good horse, and it makes it better. And there is no outside influences that overwhelm you with anything. You got to still do it. You got to look like your horse is good. And the cow horse, they got to work a cow, and the ranch riding, they got to do the stuff and look like they like it. And I mean, it don't get no better than that. It's good. So anyway, that's all I got for that, I hope. Any questions?
You might remind that 60 is the
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good point. We have all of our cow horse, our rein work is 60 to 80. Lowest you go is 60 unless you're 0. That's a good point because the reining and all is 0 to 100 or infinity or what. I've never seen an infinity, but I've never seen 100. But ours is 60 to 80 and we stay in that range and it'll come out in the wash. That's a good point, yeah.